Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to have a discussion on various sections in compressible flow. But before we proceed further, let's just recapitulate what we have learned in the previous video. So yesterday what we have learned 4 topics, and these topics are: initially we went for basics of compressible flow, which gives us an idea what actually the compressible flow is. Second, useful relations which we can use to develop relation between various thermodynamic parameters. Third, to develop relationship between the velocity of sound and other thermodynamic parameters like pressure, temperature, density, and other parameters as well. Fourth one, the types of flow, where we learned there are 3 types of flow: subsonic, sonic, and supersonic. In subsonic, where the Mach number is less than 1. In sonic, Mach number is equals to 1, and supersonic, Mach number was greater than 1. So these 4 sections we covered yesterday. Now today we're going to understand other topics. Now let us discuss about the stagnation properties. What actually the stagnation properties are? We're going to see these properties as reference properties. So what actually they are and what they are referring to? They are referring to, let's say, to understand this, we're going to see an example of it. So let us just draw a channel. This is a channel, and this is the direction of flow, and this is the inlet section, and I'm denoting it by the number 1, and this is the outlet section, and I have denoted it by number 2. So this is the outlet and this is the inlet. So what I'm going to say, let's say this particular channel is having a flow with some fluid, and fluid is having some velocity. Let's say it is having some velocity v at section 1, and pressure P, temperature T, and density rho. So these are the various thermodynamic parameters that I have taken or assumed at section 1. Now what I want to do, I want to find out properties at section 2. Now let's say this flow I have decelerated. That means deceleration means I have reduced its velocity to 0. Let's say this velocity has to be v2, and which is equals to 0. But there is one point as well in this, that the flow has been decelerated isentropically. What does it mean? That means when this particular flow is having or is taking place inside this channel, the velocity at inlet was v, and when it was decelerated to 0 velocity isentropically, that means there is no change in entropy. That means initial entropy is equals to the final entropy. That means entropy at section 1 is equals to entropy at section 2. If this is happening, then the pressure will increase, because as we see from Bernoulli's equation, what we know, P plus V square by 2 is equals to constant. This is what we know from the Bernoulli's equation if the flow is incompressible. So from this equation what we can conclude is, if velocity is going to decrease, the pressure is going to increase, because the summation of the pressure term and the velocity term is going to be constant, and if it is going to be constant, that means if one term is decreasing, then another term will be increasing. But you may wonder from this particular equation that this particular equation is valid for incompressible flow, and here we are dealing with the compressible flow. But when we go to the Euler's equation, from that equation we can also conclude that if one term is going to increase, then other term will decrease. So this is a general concept, and we're going to use this particular concept in relation to the stagnation properties. So from this, what we're going to see, we're going to do some calculation. Let's say at section 1 the pressure is P1 and the velocity is V1, that is divided by 2, and that should be equals to P2, I beg your pardon, I have missed this term, that is density over here. So density I'm going to use it. So that is equals to P2 plus rho V2 square divided by 2. Now the flow has been decelerated to velocity 0. That means at section 2 the velocity is equals to 0. So if velocity is equals to 0, so what is going to happen is P1 plus rho V1 square divided by 2 equals to P2 plus this term equals to 0. So ultimately we will be left out with P2 equals to P1 plus rho V1 square divided by 2. So this will be the final pressure that will be amounted to. That means the final pressure is more than the initial pressure, and this final pressure is nothing. This is the stagnation pressure. Stagnation pressure. And this pressure we denote by the symbol by using subscript 0. So similarly, what we're going to do, we're going to use this 0 subscript for various other thermodynamic parameters. So velocity has been 0, pressure, that is stagnation pressure, temperature, that is stagnation temperature, and density, that is stagnation density. So all these parameters we can use for the stagnation properties. So this is what all about the stagnation properties is. Now moving next, we're going to develop the relationship between stagnation properties and the local properties. So before we develop the relationship, let us understand one more thing with the help of a graph. I have drawn a temperature entropy graph in this particular diagram, and what I'm trying to do, I have shown a process that is 1 to 2, and this particular process, if it is happening, that is causing heat transfer is to be 0 and net work out exchange that is also equals to 0. That means there is no energy transfer across the system. So what is happening? If no exchange of energy is taking place, that means there will be conversion of energy. So what I have shown, that is from state 1 to state 2, there is a process, and in that process temperature has increased. The temperature has increased, but the velocity will going to decrease. If we use the energy equation, so H1 plus V1 square divided by 2 equals to H2 plus V2 square divided by 2. So if the considered gas is an ideal gas, then we can say that H1 equals to Cp T1 plus V1 square divided by 2, and that is equals to Cp T2 plus V2 square divided by 2. So this is what for the formula is going to be. So it means if temperature is going to increase, the velocity is going to decrease. So this is what is happening in this particular process, and these curve lines are the pressure lines, and they're denoting at what pressure this particular gas has reached at one particular state. And when the process is taking place, still the stagnation pressure is going to remain constant for both the states. That means for state 1 stagnation pressure, let's say, equals to PO1, and at state 2 stagnation pressure is PO2. So what I'm trying to say is that PO1 will be equals to PO2. This is true only in case when there is no exchange of energy. So if it is happening, then stagnation pressure will always be remain constant. So this is what I was trying to say. Now let us develop the relationship between the stagnation properties and the local properties. So to develop the relationship between the stagnation properties and the local properties, what we're going to use, those 5 or 6 equations, those useful 6 equations that we have discussed earlier in the previous video. Now let us recall those equations. So first equation was continuity equation. Let us write that in the differential form as well. So dm divided by dt, that was equals to del upon del t rho cv rho dv plus integration at the contour surface rho v dot dA. So this is what our continuity equation. Second, the momentum equation. Now what this momentum equation was? Fsx in the x direction plus Fbx minus a reference m, that is equals to del upon del t control volume Vx into rho dV plus control surface integration Vx rho v dot dA. So this is what the momentum equation was. And the third equation, it was the thermodynamic first law, which talks about energy. The equation that we're going to discuss, we'll see that later because it is too long. So fourth, entropy principle. So what entropy principle says, that means S2 minus S1, that is equals to, for reversible process, consider cyclic integral, that will be of delta Q upon T. So this is what entropy principle says. And fifth was state of a gas. So in this there were two equations. If the suppose gas is an ideal gas, then we can use P is equals to rho RT, and we can also use P divided by rho to the power K is equals to constant. So these two equations we can use to find out the state of a gas. So now let us have a look on assumptions. The first assumption is the flow is supposed to be known as steady flow. Second, the body forces in the x direction are 0, and the reference frame that we have considered, that is the inertial reference frame. Third, electrical work are 0, shaft work, that is 0. So these assumptions we have made, and if we required other assumptions, then we can make assumptions conveniently. Now as we're going to develop the relationship between the stagnation properties and the local properties, so For that we have drawn a diagram over here, and let's say this is a channel, and in this channel what I have assumed is I have taken certain control volume, and I'm going to use this approach. At the inlet section there are certain property that I have taken or I have assumed, that is pressure is P, velocity is Vx, area is A, density is rho, and temperature is T. And at the outlet section what I have assumed is there will be some changes because of some movement of the fluid. So those changes I have mentioned in terms of the differential form. So what will be going to the thermodynamic properties? So the pressure will be P plus dP, velocity will be Vx plus dVx, area will be A plus dA, density will be rho plus d rho, and the temperature will be T plus dt. One more thing I would like to tell you, that velocity and area, they are not thermodynamic properties, but as we have to use them, so that's why I written them. So now we're going to use first the continuity equation. So here I have mentioned the continuity equation. As we know that as the total mass flow that comes in from the section 1, the complete mass will be gone out from the section 2. So that means there will be no change in the mass flow. And as we have assumed the flow is steady, so this term is also going to be 0 because there will be no dependency on time. So what we are left out with, will be left out with this term, the integration of the control section rho v dot dA, that will be equals to 0. So at section 1 the density is rho and the velocity is Vx and the area is A, and the angle between them, let us see this, the velocity is in this direction and the area vector is in this direction, so the angle between them is 180 degree. So we're going to use this into cos 180 degree because the dot product of two parameters will give us the component in terms of the cos. Next, plus the density at section 2, that will be equals to rho plus d rho into velocity is Vx plus dVx into area is A plus dA. Now let us see the angle between the velocity component and the area vector. So velocity is in this direction and the area is also in this direction, so theta 2 will be equals to 0. So we're going to use this cos 0 and that will be equals to 0. Now if we simplify, then we'll be left out with minus rho Vxa plus rho plus d rho Vx plus dVx A plus dA, and that will be equals to 0. So we can rearrange it, rho Vxa, that will be equals to rho plus d rho Vx plus dVx A plus dA. So this equation we're going to assume as equation 1. Now let us talk about the momentum equation, that was second equation. So here we have some terms, that is surface forces, body forces, and the acceleration component. Second, the steady component or the temporal component we can say, and the component that works at the surfaces. So the body forces we have assumed in the x direction as 0, and the reference frame that we have assumed, that is an inertial frame, so this component will also going to be 0. Now as we know, the flow that we have assumed is steady flow, so there will be no change with respect to time, so this component will also be 0. Now we'll be left out with Fsx equals to integration control surface Vx rho v dot dA. So this will be the component and this will be the term that we will be left out with. If we solve it further, so first of all let us just calculate the surface forces. So now surface forces, that will be equals to P into A, as P is in this direction, so as it is in the positive direction, as it is in the direction of the assumed x-axis, so this term is going to be positive. Now talking about this term, P plus dP into A plus dA, so this term will be negative because the pressure which is working in this direction, that is in the negative x direction, so that's why we have taken this term as negative. Now next term will be equals to drx. So we'll be wondering about what this term is all about. This term is it gives us an idea about the force that is being exerted on this particular boundary. That means on its circumference, how this force is working, so it gives us an idea about that. And what will be the area that we'll be working on? It will be working on this particular area. Let me just draw it by the dotted line. This will be the area. So if it is A, if this area is A, and this area is A plus dA, so A plus dA minus A, that will be equals to dA. So this area will be the left out area, so that's why we have used dA. Now if we simplify, and before that actually we need to calculate the value of drx, so let us just find out the value of it. So drx will be equals to, this force is nothing, is the average force. So what is the average force per unit area? It is the average pressure that is working on the circumference of this particular section. So let us just find out the average pressure. So the pressure at section 1 is equals to P, and the pressure at section 2 is P plus dP, and the average of them will be divided by 2. So we can say it will be equals to P plus dP by 2. So this will be the pressure which is equals to drx. So we're going to use this particular term over here, and we're going to replace it. So P into A minus, if we multiply, so we'll be left out with PA minus P into dA minus dP into A minus dP into dA, and further plus drx, if we use P plus dP by 2 into dA. So if we write it again, so if this term will be cancelled out, and again P into dA minus dP into A minus dP into dA plus P into dA plus dP into dA divided by 2. So there are some terms which we can cancel. So this will be the negative sign. So this term will be cancelled out by this, and these two terms can be solved further. So we'll be left out with minus dP into A minus dP into dA divided by 2. Now this change in pressure, that is small pressure, will be multiplied by the small area, so their multiplication will be almost equals to 0. So ultimately we'll be left out with the surface force as Fsx will be equals to minus dP into A. So this will be the term we're going to use. Now if we solve the next term, that was on the right hand side, so it was control surface Vx rho V dot dA. So if we solve this particular term, then we'll be having this particular expression, that is V bracket rho VA cos 180 plus V plus dV in curly bracket rho plus d rho, v plus dv, a plus dA into cos 0, as the angle between them are 180 degree and angle 0 degree respectively at the inlet section and the outlet section. Now if we simplify it further, so this will be the expression we will left out with, minus v in bracket rho va plus v plus dv, rho plus d rho, v plus dv and a plus dA. So if we go back to the continuity equation, so this term will show us something, that this term is equals to rho va, because earlier we have already derived this particular term, this particular expression, that rho va equals to rho plus d rho, v plus dv and a plus dA. So if we replace it by rho va, then we'll be left out with this particular expression. And if we solve it further, then we can take rho va as common and v plus dv minus v. So this term will be cancelled out with this, and that will be equals to rho a v dv. So this will be the expression for the right hand side term. And now if we use them together, what we're going to get is, we'll be having this particular expression, which is minus dp into a, that is equals to rho a v dv. Now if we cancel out a by a, then we'll be left out with dp plus rho v dv, that will be equals to 0. So this is what our second equation. And if we solve it further, then we can also write as dp plus rho d v square divided by 2 equals to 0. So that will be our equation 2a. Now if we use one particular relation, that is for state of a gas, so this relation, that is p upon rho to the power k equals to constant. So this constant is capital C that we're going to take, and this particular expression is valid for ideal gas only, and we're going to use this particular expression to solve equation 2a further. Now what we're going to do, we're going to replace rho from this equation. So we can say rho will be equals to p to the power 1 by k divided by c to the power 1 by k, and we're going to use this particular expression and replace it in this particular equation. So now we're going to solve it further, and if we divide equation 2a by rho, that is density, so what we will left out with, that is dp by rho plus d v square divided by 2, that will be equals to 0. Now if we replace this rho by this particular expression, so what we're going to get is, that is c to the power 1 by k in the numerator into dp divided by p to the power 1 by k plus d v square by 2, that will be equals to 0. And now if we integrate it, then what we're going to get is c to the power 1 by k p to the power 1 minus 1 by k divided by 1 minus 1 by k, and the limit what we're going to use is that pressure p to the stagnation pressure plus 1 by 2 v square, that the limit we're going to use for this particular term will be v to 0, because at 0 velocity the pressure will be stagnation pressure, and at velocity v the pressure will be the local pressure. So that's why we are using this term, that will be equals to 0. Now if we simplify it further, what we're going to get is c to the power 1 by k into k divided by k minus 1 to bracket p to the power k minus 1 divided by k, that is p naught, minus p to the power k minus 1 divided by k plus 1 by 2, this will be 0 square minus v square, and that will be equals to 0. Now if we simplify it further, Now further, when we solve it, what we're going to get is c to the power 1 by k into k divided by k minus 1 into, if we take this particular term, that is p to the power k minus 1 divided by k as common, so this term will go in the denominator to this p naught. So what we're going to get is p naught divided by p to the power k minus 1 divided by k minus 1, and that will be equals to, this term will be negative, so if we take this term on the right hand side, this will become positive, so that will be equals to v square divided by 2. Now as we know that c to the power 1 by k is equals to p to the power 1 by k divided by rho. So this rho in the denominator, this is this rho, into k divided by k minus 1 into p to the power k minus 1 divided by k, when this particular term, that is p to the power 1 by k, will be in the numerator. So and we have one more term whose base is still p, so we can say that this p and this p, the bases are same, so the power will be added up. So that is what we have done. So that means k minus 1 divided by k plus 1 by k, in bracket p naught divided by p to the power k minus 1 divided by k minus 1, that will be equals to v square by 2. Now if we solve it further, now next if we move, then we can say that the following term will be k divided by k minus 1 into p divided by rho, in bracket p naught divided by p to the power k minus 1 divided by k minus 1, that will be equals to v square by 2. Now as we know that p divided by rho, that is p divided by rho is equals to rt, and the velocity of sound, that is c square, is equals to krt. So we're going to use these two expression and we're going to replace p by rho from with rt. That means this particular term that we have replaced with rt, and this krt we have taken together, and this particular term we have replaced with c square, that is the velocity of sound. So velocity of sound square divided by k minus 1 in bracket p naught to the power p to the power k minus 1 equals to v square by 2. Now if we take these two terms here, so what we're going to get is p naught divided by p to the power k minus 1 divided by k minus 1 equals to, this k minus 1 in the denominator on the left hand side will be taken on the right hand side as numerator, and will be left out with this term, that k minus 1 divided by 2 v square divided by c square. Now when we solve further, then this term, that v divided by c, that is the Mach number as we know, so this term will be converted to m, and now p naught divided by p to the power k minus 1 to the power k will be equals to 1 plus k minus 1 divided by 2 m square. Now if this power goes here, so what will happen, p naught divided by p, that is equals to 1 plus k minus 1 divided by 2 m square to the power k divided by k minus 1, and this is the fundamental equation for the stagnation pressure and the local pressure. So this formula is going to be our m1. And when we want to find out the relationship between the stagnation temperature and the local temperature, so we're going to use some standard formulas. Now as we have assumed that the local properties and the stagnation properties relates to an isentropic process, so that means we can use this particular relation, which is T naught divided by T, that is equals to P naught divided by P to the power K minus 1 divided by K, which is also equals to rho naught divided by rho to the power K minus 1. So we're going to use first this particular relation, and later we're going to develop the relation with the help of T naught divided by T, that equals to rho naught divided by rho to the power K minus 1. So as of now, first of all, let's just have this particular relation together. So T naught divided by T, that is equals to P naught by P to the power K minus 1 divided by K. That will be equals to, now if we write down the value of that we have earlier calculated, that is P naught divided by P, so which was equals to 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square to the power K divided by K minus 1, and this to the power K minus 1 divided by K. So if we multiply it, now power will be multiplied, so this K minus 1 will be cancelled out by this, and this K will be cancelled out by this K. So we'll be left out with 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square. So the final formula will be equals to T naught divided by T equals to 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square. So this will be the final formula that we're going to use, and this equation what I'm going to say, that is m2. Now if we develop the relationship between the stagnation density and the local density, then we can use this particular relation, that is T naught divided by T equals to rho naught divided by rho to the power K minus 1. Now similarly, this K minus 1 will go on to the power of T naught divided by T with reciprocal number, that means 1 divided by K minus 1, and we know the relation between T naught and T as I have already calculated, that is 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square. So we're going to use this formula over here. So 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square to the power 1 by K minus 1. So the ultimate formula will be equals to rho naught divided by rho, that will be equals to 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square to the power 1 divided by K minus 1. So this will be my third valid formula, and this formula I'm going to denote by the equation m3. Now let me rewrite those three formulas, and these formulas are this one m1, this one was m2, and this one was m3. I have denoted them by a specific notation because we're going to use these formulas later. Now as we have derived these formulas, the relation between the stagnation properties and the local properties, so one would wonder that why we want to develop these relations. Now let me tell you one more time this thing again, that if a particular gas or liquid, whatever it is, if it is changing its state, let's say from state 1 to state 2 isentropically, that is if entropy is not going to change, then for state 1 the stagnation property, that is PO1, will be equals to PO2, and TO1, that will be equals to TO2, and rho O1 will be equals to rho O2. So these three terms will not going to be changed. So this is what we mean to say. Now let's say we have come to a position 2 from position 1, and we want to know the properties at point 2 or at state 2. So what we're going to do, we're going to do this, that is P2 divided by P1, that will be equals to P2 divided by PO2 into PO2 divided by P1. So I can write that P2 divided by PO2 into, as we know the stagnation pressure is not going to change, so we can write it PO1 divided by P1. So now we can use this particular term with the help of this particular term if we know the Mach number at that particular position, and this particular term with the help of this particular expression if we know the Mach number at state 1. So we can find out the pressure at 2, that is static pressure. This is static pressure. So we can find it, this value, if we know Mach number at both the state and pressure at P1. So these relations will help us in estimating properties at another state if we know some properties at another that a given state. Now the next topic that we're going to discuss is the extent to which compressible flow or the compressible fluid can be assumed as incompressible. So this particular thing that we can calculate with the help of the earlier expression that we had derived. Now let's say we know the properties that PO divided by P equals to 1 plus K minus 1 divided by 2 m square to the power K divided by K minus 1. So this was the expression that we had derived. Now let us assume that x equals to K minus 1 divided by 2 m square and n equals to small n, that is equals to K divided by K minus 1. So we'll be left out with P naught divided by P, that will be equals to 1 plus x to the power n. This expression we can expand with the help of binomial. And if we expand this particular expression with the help of binomial, so what we're going to get is, so this will be the expression, that is 1 plus nx divided by 1 factorial plus n minus 1 divided by 2 factorial x square plus n minus 1 n minus 2 divided by 3 factorial into x cube plus so on up to infinity. This particular expression is valid when mod x is less than 1. And this can be proved so quite easily that what we are considering is, we are considering the velocity up to which, or the Mach number at which the compressible flow or the fluid can be assumed as incompressible. That means Mach number will be remain less than 1. If it is going to remain less than 1, then K minus 1, the maximum value can be 1.6. so 1.6 minus 1 divided by 2, that will give us 0.4. so if any number which is less than 1 multiply by another number which is also less than 1, so their multiplication will always be less than 1. So ultimately we can say that the mode of x will be always less than 1. So that's why we can use this binomial expression to solve this particular expression. Now if we solve it by using a binomial expression, what we're going to get is P naught divided by P, that will be equals to 1 plus K by 2 m square plus K by 8 m to the power 4 plus K 2 minus K divided by 48 m to the power 6 and so on. So if we take K by 2 m square common in consequent terms, then what we are left out with, that P naught divided by P equals to 1 plus K by 2 m square in bracket 1 plus m square by 4 plus 2 minus K divided by 24 m to the power 4 plus and so on. So this term, as m is very small, so we can consider these terms as negligible with respect to the value 1. So if we neglect them, so what we left out with, that is P naught divided by P equals to 1 plus K by 2 m square. So this will be the value that will be left out with, and this particular formula is valid if we have considered the flow or the fluid as incompressible. And if we want the fluid to be compressible enough, then we have to include this particular expression as well, and that will give us the exact result. This is something that we can also find out with the help of a graph that I'm going to draw. Now this is the graph that I was talking about, that on x-axis I have taken Mach number as a variable, and on the y-axis I have considered P naught divided by P, that is the ratio of the stagnation pressure and the local pressure, as on the y-axis. And this particular graph, that is with the red line, that shows of the compressible relation. and this dotted line with the color of blue color, it shows the extent to which we can consider this compressible fluid as to be incompressible. So once we can picture out from this particular graph, then we can see that up to Mach number 0.45, the error we're going to get is up to 5%, which is permissible. So below, if a fluid is flowing with a Mach number of less than 0.45, then we can consider the error will be less than 5%. So this is the maximum limit that we can consider the flow as to be considered as incompressible flow. And one more thing, that at m equals to 0.3, error is almost equals to 3%, and at m equals to 0.4, error equals to 4%. I beg your pardon, it's 3.4%. So these are the values that we can picture out from this particular graph. Now moving further, let us talk about the critical properties. What are the critical properties? Now to define this, let us draw a particular diagram first, and then we'll discuss about it. I'm sorry for this. Now let's say I have drawn a diagram, and this diagram shows a particular channel, and it is a converging channel, and at inlet, if I want to discuss the pressure, at inlet the pressure is stagnation pressure. That means it is not having any velocity at the inlet section. Now if we talk about at the exit, there are two pressure. First one is the back pressure, and second one is the exit pressure. This exit pressure is immediately just at the exit of this particular section. I am not naming this particular section as a nozzle or as a diffuser, but what I am saying is it is just a channel that we are considering right now. Now let's say I have started decreasing this pressure, that is back pressure, with the help of a compressor if it is a gas. Then if I start decreasing this pressure, then P exit will also going to decrease. So what happens is the flow starts to happen. Now if I start decreasing it further, what will happen? The velocity at the exit, that is at the exit section, or I can say at section 2, this is the section that I have drawn. This is a section 2. At exit or section 2, the velocity is going to increase because this is converging channel. So from Bernoulli equation, if I see that P plus rho V square divided by 2 equals to constant, that means if I'm going to decrease this pressure, what is going to happen is the velocity is going to increase, and vice versa. So this is the same thing is happening over here, that if I decrease the pressure, that is back pressure, so correspondingly exit pressure is also going to decrease, and with respect to that the velocity is going to increase at the exit section. So if velocity is going to increase, and let's say it has reached a certain value, what that value is, let's say this value has reached to the velocity of sound, that is c. If this velocity at the exit section has reached to the velocity of sound, then we can say that Mach number will be equals to 1. And when this particular situation or condition has reached, then we can say that the properties will become critical properties. So we can say that at critical condition, Mach number will be equals to 1. So now we are going to use this particular term, that is m equals to 1 at the critical condition, in those three equations which we have derived earlier. And now let us see what the result we are going to get by using this particular value. So these three are the expression that we have derived earlier. Now in these three equations, what we're going to do, we're going to put m equals to 1 and then we'll get the result. So in these expression, if we put the value, that is m equals to 1, so p naught divided by p, that will be equals to 1 plus k minus 1 divided by 2 into 1 to the power k divided by k minus 1, and that will be equals to k plus 1 divided by 2 to the power k divided by k minus 1. So this is the general expression that we're going to get. So simply from this particular expression, what we are getting is this particular expression, that means k plus 1 divided by 2. So we can simply put it, and we're going to replace this particular term by t naught divided by t equals to k plus 1 divided by 2, and rho naught divided by rho will be equals to k plus 1 divided by 2 to the power 1 divided by k minus 1. So these three will be the general expression to find out the critical properties. So and one more thing, to denote these critical properties, what we're going to do is we're going to use asterisk on the above of the parameters, that is this. They are represented by these symbols. So this symbol represents that properties are critical properties. So these are the expressions, and this is also one such kind of condition which we can consider as reference state, in the similar fashion as it was in the case of the stagnation properties. This is what we're going to look at later, but before that, let us just write these three equations in a clean manner again. Now they are these three equations. Now let us assume the considered gas is air. If the gas is air, then we can say that k will be equals to 1.4, and if we put this value in these expressions, what we're going to get is, we're going to get p star divided by p naught will be equals to 0.528. So this will be the ratio, that we're going to get if the considered gas as an air. Let us find out the significance of this number. This particular expression gives us an idea that at what pressure at the exit the flow will become sonic flow, because at m equals to 1 the flow becomes sonic flow. So this expression gives us an idea about this particular flow. Now let us say if the stagnation pressure, that is equals to 101.325 kilopascal, which is also our atmospheric pressure. So what will be the critical pressure to have a sonic flow? The pressure will be equals to, that is P asterisk will be equals to 53.49 kilopascal. This will be the pressure at exit we required to create the velocity equals to the velocity of sound at the exit. So this is what the pressure at the exit we would be required, and as the pressure is less at the exit of the channel, so that is going to create suction at the exit, and that will cause flow to happen, and ultimately we're going to have velocity of sound at the exit. So that was all for today. The remaining portion of the compressible flow we're going to discuss in the upcoming videos. Thank you.